It's the Doctor on Triple J.
Damon.
Hi.
Hello, it's Lindsay here from Triple J.
Hello.
It's the morning in the UK. What are you up to?
Well, I'm rehearsing at the other end of London, so I've just I normally go on my bicycle from my house, but I had quite a late night last night because we were celebrating a bit, and I've got a cab, and so I've just had an hour-long cab conversation, which anyone who's been to London knows are very much part of our capital's sort of charm.
And what was the
inverted commas?
What did the topics what did the topics cover?
Well, we started football. It's kind of you know, that's how it all gets going. Normally.
Fairly safe territory.
Then we went to golfing holidays, although I have no interest in golf, but he wanted to tell me about golfing holidays.
Did you have to
Turkey.
pretend that you were into golf because you knew you had 40 minutes left of the trip?
No, well, you know, sometimes it's an easy conversation. Golf in Turkey, and then on to another pet subject of cabbies are their vehicles, and that's how we finished it off. But, you know, it's been a lovely morning. It's kind of feels like spring here, so it's fine, you know.
Would that be because it's spring there?
Well, it's just about to happen. Spring's just about to happen, so it's the warmest day for a while. You know, we've had a proper winter this year.
Yeah, it's been freezing.
It's been nice, you know. It's been nice, but I mean, you really appreciate it because obviously we have, you know, it gets dark here.
Yeah, at about 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, so when it starts to lighten up, you know what I mean. You really. It's great.
So what a perfect day to go into the rehearsal studio and close the doors.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But, I mean, I've done it all my life, so...
Yeah.
I'm kind of used to it.
Okay, well,
it's all I know. It's all I know.
In fact, you see a nice day and immediately run for the nearest rehearsal studio, locking the door behind you. Well, I imagine you've got a lot to rehearse for, because if the tweets from Murdoch of Gorillas are anything to believe, he tweeted, "I hear my Plastic Beach masterpiece has shot into the US charts at number 2, and in Australia, number 1.
Yep.
So that was what the celebrations were for last night?
Well, I mean, it's done well. It's pretty much 1 or 2 everywhere around the world. So that's you know, I don't know if it means as much to you. Well, when I was a kid, if I'd have had a record as successful as this, I think my head would have exploded. You know what I mean? But I kind of sort of. In between being a dad, doing the washing up, sort of cab journeys, Chelsea going out of the Champions League.
You're telling me in the football and golf and vehicle conversation you didn't mention, I'm actually number 1, so...
No, I don't. I don't even... I mean, I'm lucky if I get through a journey and I don't get recognised, so do you know what I mean? It's a sort of mild state of bliss when no one asks me what I do.
And today's we're going to Plastic Beach by any chance?
Well, you can if you want.
Well, you seem
it's
to
closer to you than it is to me.
Really? Is it?
Yeah.
Have you worked out a geographical position where the Gorillas are?
Well, we worked out a geographical conceit.
Yes.
And it's in the Pacific.
Okay. So this is where the Gorillas are, and they're tweeting from at the moment.
Well, yeah, they are. I mean, you know, I have nothing to do with it.
I realise it. Well, you just keep seeming to be popping up on their albums, and you seem to.
Well, I make their records, and then they go and you know, they're the kind of sort of they're very much a manufactured band.
Yes, exactly.
They're entirely there.
You are the Simon Cowell of the Gorillas.
I am.
And
exactly.
I know
No, I'm not saying that. I didn't say I am.
No, you didn't. It's okay.
You said that.
Yes, I did. I'm putting on a great Damon Albarn voice. So why are the Gorillas in this... why are the Gorillas, these people you have nothing to do with, in this plastic world? Why is it a plastic beach?
What, are you asking them or are you asking me?
Well, you seem to know a lot about it.
Well, as I say, I have nothing to do with them whatsoever. I mean, I try and make decent records, and it's not a sort of the whole Gorillaz thing. Is not about kind of me hiding away or somehow kind of sort of trying to be sort of, I don't know.
I think you said
some kind of sort of Wizard of Oz thing.
I'm not expecting anyone to pull.
I genuinely love making the records. I love the process of, as they develop, things that come to mind. Like when I kind of sort of got the groove of Stylo together. I just sort of thought, God, wouldn't it be amazing to get someone like Bobby Womack, who I've always been a massive fan of, to sing over that kind of sort of quite cold electro beat, because I'd never heard that kind of voice over that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think
so it's very much an experiment, and some of it works, some of it doesn't. And I had like 80 tunes. By the end of last year, when I really started cutting it all down, I had 80 tunes, which I was considering for Plastic Beach. And the reason why it's called Plastic Beach is it's very simple. I was just walking on this beautiful little beach near my country residence down in Devon, and I just noticed there were thousands of very small little bits of plastic in the stones and the sand, and it kind of sort of, it looked very beautiful, and I felt like kind of plastic was, although it's a man-made thing, it's quite a natural thing, and we kind of have this weird sort of idea that it's sort of man-made and then not from nature, but actually, if we made it, it must be part of nature's course. Do you know what I mean? And then I suppose it was just a kind of sort of two words that you wouldn't put together, yes, there is definitely a sort of an emotional response to the pollution that we keep that increases every day. And I mean, I went to see quite a few landfill sites to record seagulls and stuff when I was making the record, and it's quite overwhelming when you actually sort of confront how we get rid of our waste.
Yeah. Well, there's like ships dragging stuff around.
These are like cities, and we supply them sort of daily with. It's overwhelming.
Well, there's ships full of rubbish. It's amazing. I was seeing them in Hudson River in New York.
Yeah, it's just extraordinary. It's just extraordinary. So there's an element to that, but it's also the it's a lot of the record is about sitting on a beach and staring at the stars and the sea and just being quite sort of reflective. It's not all about waste disposal.
No, of course. I have not have suggested that at all. But you have said, like you said in the doco in Bananas, that the one thing that you learnt from from Britpop is that it's very difficult in the UK to be experimental. And now, with your association with Gorillaz, experimentalism is the top of the menu.
Well, that's why I like it, and it's sort of by having the cartoons, which for a lot of people, that's what they're into. They don't even know that I make the records, and that's great because they get a very different take on the whole thing. They see it through the eyes of the cartoons, and I think that's really interesting. But I'm not going to sort of pretend that the two, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of James is part of it, but that's how we collaborate, and he goes off on tangents that I would never even entertain, and Murdoch and his Twitters, they all come from a guy called Cass Brown. I'm going to name and shame him there. I don't know why I always have to take the shit.
No, I wouldn't.
When he actually writes it. He writes the whole thing. He's a very close friend of both of ours, and he kind of, he's one of the Gorillaz, and I don't know, it just allows us to do what we like. And sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we get it, hideously wrong.
Well, I think on this album,
it's important to be able to just kind of keep trying things, I think.
yeah, and I guess the success of this album has proven, or at least on a very a chart-based sense, that people seem to agree with you. And
well, no, it's great. It's very exciting because in a way, Stylo was not really the kind of obvious single to take off the record. We just sort of thought it was a good starting point. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's a record you can listen to time and time again, and it gets better.
Well, I'm not even planning on playing
so.
Stylo during this interview at all. In fact, the song I want to play right now, and what I mean by that is play it in later when we run this interview on the radio.
No, I know it works.
But it's Welcome to Plastic Beach with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
It's a great tune. And once we have a listen to it, I want to talk to you about the idea of using these amazing guests that you've managed to garner for this album more as instruments than as, cameos. So let's have a listen to...
Well, I mean, I can tell you the ones I didn't manage to get, which is kind of more interesting.
On Triple J, welcome to Plastic Beach by Gorillaz off Plastic Beach, and Damon Albarn is on the phone from the UK. All right, so you got Snoop Dogg on that track, and it's an amazing tune. Now, who did you not get?
Who did I not get? Well,
that's a big question, isn't
it? If we're going to use the kind of sort of the sea analogy and netting and trawling and fishing,
and throwing the bait in,
the ones that got away.
Yes.
Well, the first one, and actually I haven't, but didn't put the song on the record as a result. But I wrote this really big, epic kind of string ballad, and I thought Engelbert Humperdinck would be fantastic on it.
Wow.
And he got the tune, and we thought he was going to do it, and then, sometimes people just kind of, they either don't get it, or they, what I've learned kind of through making these records is that you've very much got to kind of sort of just let people make their own mind up about what it is that you're doing, and in the end, I think he it just didn't work out because he only comes to England like once a year or whatever, and he wanted to be with his family, and it's fair enough. He didn't want to be faffing about in the studio with something he wasn't entirely, So anyway, that didn't work out. But the one that was really, I really thought was going to happen, and literally the guy was about to start recording, and then he backed out, was Barry Gibb.
It's an Australian as well.
Who was going to sing the kind of overload part on Stylo. And he was doing it, and then he wasn't doing it, and then he was doing it again, and then he literally was going into the studio, and I even remember the day, it was a Tuesday, in his studio in Miami, and then he got to the studio and he decided he had an earache. And that was the end of that.
That's the end of any BG on the Gorillaz.
Yeah, that was it.
That was almost an Australian on the Gorillaz album.
I know.
Wow. I'm sorry on behalf of Australia.
Well, I mean, you just win some, you lose some.
Absolutely.
It just would have been fun, and I think it would have sounded great.
Speaking of fun, was Lou Reed fun to work with? He's notorious for not getting along with anyone.
Fun? What, in what sense?
Well,
what kind of fun? What sort of?
How were you in the studio?
Like your surprise fifth birthday party.
I don't remember my fifth birthday party. Okay, that's on one scale of fun.
Not in that sense. No, I mean
being able to tell your mates you had Lou Reed singing on a Gorillaz album.
I got on fine with him, but he's Lou Reed. What else can I say?
It's the top Triple J. It's the top Triple J.
Now it's time for part 2 of my chat with that dude, the main dude from Gorillaz and Blur.
It's the Doctor on Triple J.
Not in the studio, but on the phone from the UK, Damon Albarn, talking about the Gorillaz album, Plastic Beach. And I should say, probably at this stage, I will confess that about 10, maybe even 15 years ago, I actually lined up overnight to buy tickets to a Blur gig in Sydney.
You know what? It's about time I came back over there, really. It's been a long time.
Damn straight. Was that the last time you've been to Australia? It was like 97,
the
I
only
think.
one time I've been to Australia was 15 years ago.
And you played to, like...
Has it changed?
Not really.
Not really?
No, there's more people.
More people?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the same everywhere.
Yeah, so I guess, the scale of things have changed. Maybe that's about it. But, yeah.
Can you still get fish and chips?
You can certainly get fish and chips if that's what you desire. You can get that.
That's still that kind of sort of faint echo of 1950s England.
Oh, old Blighty is running strong in Australia. No, we're a very multicultural nation, as I'm sure.
No, of course, but you know that was kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
You can get
nice to feel that, you know.
You can get a pie floater if you'd like. Pie and peas, that sort of thing. Chip and egg. That's all 1950s England, isn't it? I imagine. Yeah. There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, perhaps. Well,
I suppose we've got an excuse now to come over if we're doing all right.
Yeah, you're damn right you do. Exactly.
Yeah.
But you didn't go to Australia.
Okay, well, you know what? I'll speak to the people that make these things happen.
That would be wonderful. I'll tell you what. I don't eat fish, but I'll buy you some fish and chips if you come over here. There you go.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, why don't we talk about the Lebanese National Orchestra for Oriental Arabic Music?
Yeah.
Now, were they used just because you wanted one of the longest named orchestras in the world?
Well, no. I mean, I'm a bit confused by this that they're called the Lebanese because they're not. They're from Syria. They're from Damascus.
Well, that's not Lebanon at all.
No, not well. It's very close.
Yeah.
And actually, it's quite amazing. It's a brilliant part of the world, and perceived as being very kind of mixed up, and that there's a lot of land issues in that part of the world, to say the least. But the people on both sides, whether they're Israeli or Syrian or Lebanese, or lovely people, really lovely people. Well, amazing countries.
And also amazing music. So we're talking to Damon Albarn. What led you to explore such non-Western influences? Because, when some people talk about their influences, they'll talk about the Beatles or some old blues guy that you don't think you've heard of or whatever. But, the amount...
Well, I mean, I've always been, I was very lucky. My parents kind of introduced me to Arabic and Indian and African music when I was a kid, so I grew up as much with those sort of flavours as I did with kind of, Western pop.
Yeah, right. So it's always just been something you've sought out.
Yeah, and I've had the opportunity, I've been very, very lucky to be able to go to Africa a lot and the Middle East recently. And I love it. I mean, I can go to these places and I can hook up with fantastic musicians. And nobody knows who I am, which is great. And, it's kind of the best of both worlds, really, for me. And I just think there's so much outside of the Western bubble that is positive and exciting and inspirational that, in a way, I suppose kind of sort of after sort of 10 or so years of intensive travelling through touring and going to the same cities, etc., same hotels, I kind of sort of went the opposite way and just went to all the places where you can't tour. Yeah,
it's also great when you are sort of going to these places to not be that standard kind of Western-style tourist or band where you inflict your culture, your music onto those people, and instead just get in there and check it out yourself.
Well, that could be good as well, but, because it's interesting. I'm all for cultural exchange. I think that's how things develop.
Unless it's a Chinese opera class singing songs from Chicago.
Oh yeah,
musical.
I forgot about the Far East. Now that's an interesting place as well. But you know much more about that being from Australia than you're much more sort of
part of the Asia Pacific Rim.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Well, we're talking to Damon Albarn. You said earlier that Stylo wasn't meant to be the first single and stuff.
Well, no. It wasn't that. It wasn't. God, I've got a real.
That's last night. I'm just turned into Stephen Fry.
I slightly exaggerated that.
But I just wanted to know what song that you thought out of the 80 that is, because I'm about to play on Melancholy Hill, which I think's brilliant, and it's a moment that actually has no guests besides yourself and the Gorillaz in the studio.
Well, the thing is, I really make it up as I go along, making these records, and that this one was particularly sprawling, and I don't know if I got it right, the right length, or whatever. Maybe it's a bit too long. I don't know. As a record, I took the bits that I thought were the most sort of focused of all the music I wrote for it, and I really wanted to make a pop record, but one that didn't. The structures of the songs didn't fall into kind of, you know, the more familiar structures. That's what I was trying to do, was trying to write songs that were slightly different but still worked somehow in a pop way.
Mm-hmm. Well, as once again, number one, so...
well, it doesn't necessarily mean it's any good.
Well, I think there has been precedent set in the past that would prove that. Let's have a listen to On Melancholy Hill off Plastic Beach. Gorillaz, Damon's on the line. Just a little bit after this track, we're going to have to talk about, I guess, the live show, which is coming up, and maybe a bit of a mention of Blur. You are hanging out in the studio right now. You're rehearsing.
I'm just about to go and rehearse, yeah.
Now, is this the band that will be taking Gorillaz to Coachella and around the UK? So would you have half of the Clash inside that door?
I certainly do.
Oh, shit. That is mad. I mean, of course, Paul Simonon was on Good, the Bad and the Queen, but you've got Mick Jones and Paul in that room, in the Gorillaz.
Right, they're actually starting... They've kept playing, but they haven't played together since the Clash split up.
I've been following Mick since... Oh, I actually didn't even know about the Clash when I was growing up. I found out through Big Audio Dynamite. And
I love that. I mean, Big Audio Dynamite, that's a kind of one of the blueprints for Gorillaz, really.
No, I would imagine, especially...
That and Massive Attack. Those bands that sort of weren't the kind of standard band, and I've always kind of been drawn to them, and I've always found their music really sort of fascinating. Yeah,
well, Massive Attack were just in Australia this week. We had Grant and Rob on the show. And
they've been in, have they?
Yeah, they've been in. Yeah, they were right. Yeah, well, they mentioned that you were in and out of the studio on their last album. You were efficient.
Yeah, I was definitely in and out quite a bit on their last record.
It's great. They put on a mad live show, and I got to meet Marina Topley-Bird out the back and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah, she's just recorded an album in my studio literally 4 weeks ago, which is sounding really good.
Cool.
She's kind of done because I felt in some of her records in the past have been slightly overproduced, so we decided to just do it with her virtually on her own.
With that little guitar that she plays.
Yeah, so you can just really just hear her voice, because she's got the most beautiful voice. So, it's turned out really well, actually, the record.
Oh, great. And when's that going to see the light of day?
Soon, I would have thought.
Cool.
Soon.
That's great. So, Marina Topley-Bird in the studio, and behind that door, you've got half of the Clash. You've got a Verve, various other people in the studio.
No, we haven't got a Verve at the moment. He's coming back, but we have a young lad called Jeff, who, funnily enough, is also in Liam's new band.
Liam from Oasis.
Yes.
Oh, right. What are they called? Sorry.
I don't know if I've got a name.
Oh, right.
But I just thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, there you go. Wow, if this was like 15 years ago, NME would be going crazy over that.
Yeah.
I imagine. All right, so, and how does it sound? Like, this new album is so, I guess, well, it's guest heavy, and it's a really rich sounding record. How does it sound in the studio?
It sounds good because we've got Paul Simonon playing bass, and a lot of the bass lines, once they're played on his bass, sound really heavy.
Well, I saw you playing a lot of them for the other album from Demon Days on Bananas.
Yeah, but I mean, I pretty much play most of the stuff on the records when I'm in the studio, because that's the way I work. I just sort of on my own in the studio.
And then you just get the bass player from the Clash to play them live.
Well, pretty much, yeah.
I'm just.
But no, Paul's playing on this album. Paul plays a couple of bass lines on the actual record. You can hear the ones really that he plays. But a lot of those electro bass lines, what I meant, translated to bass. I mean, we've been rehearsing for like 4 weeks now, and they're really tight now, and it's starting to actually really make sense. Put it this way, it's a real band. It looks like a real band, and it's got that kind of energy. So it's good. It's exciting.
And have you and Jamie worked out what's going to happen visually?
We're that's kind of one of the reasons why we were out last night, but it turned out to be a drinking session was because we were supposed to be talking about that.
Trying to find cheaper ways to use holograms or something.
Holograms. Holograms are, yeah. We have used holograms in the past, but to really successfully put a hologram on a stage, you either need so much smoke but you can't see anything else, or you use this very antiquated method where you stretch a piece of very fine transparent film across the stage, and you project onto that with smoke as well behind it, and it creates a holographic image. But you can't have any bass, because as soon as you have any bass, the film starts
rattling,
and the image just disappears.
Wow,
which is what happened to us at the Grammys when we opened the Grammys, when we had Madonna as a hologram with us. Is that
there was too much bass and Madonna disappeared?
No. We opened the whole of the Grammys. There's everyone, including Bono, Stetson, right in front of me, so I can't see a thing, which is amazing when you think you're not one of the biggest lads on earth.
And you've got...
Still managed to obscure my view.
With his hat.
Yeah, with his hat, bless him. But, the point was that so we started this very excited, big moment for us, but it was really quiet. So it's huge, great arena. It's really, really quiet. It looks great on television, but for the people there, you can hardly hear it. And then she walks over to the other side of the stage, and then the most almighty bass comes out from her song, and the place goes mental. So this time we are going out with all guns blazing and the best bass sound on earth.
I don't doubt that.
For my money.
Yes. Well, we'll see, because you're going to be playing at Coachella in those UK shows, and hopefully coming to Australia at some stage.
No, I'd love to come to Australia again. I think it's long overdue a visit.
All right, so I had Damon Albarn on the line for about 45 minutes. Now, as I mentioned, I even lined up overnight to go and see Blur once, so I'm very excited to chat to him and for the chance to talk and maybe play a little bit of Blur. So the question for Damon was, after them reuniting last year, the full original band, is Blur going to be doing anything else?
No. I mean, I did that.
Yeah.
I did that very much last year because I felt we'd left on a really sour note, and I didn't think that was fair for everyone. I thought we know we're bigger than that, and so let's just finish this on a really nice note, positive note. Go out at the top of our game, really.
And it's certainly
so that was it. That was the end. That Glastonbury, if I ever do a gig that's comparable to that Glastonbury gig, I will consider myself truly blessed, because to have experienced that once is very special.
I imagine you would spend a lot of, if you do have any spare time, looking back and feeling blessed, because you've got members of the Clash in your band. You've played with people like Marina Topley Bird, Lou Reed, Snoop Dogg, made an opera. The Gorillaz, number one all over the place. What is there left for Damon Albarn to do?
Oh my God!
Just a small question.
Put my socks away, or.
So in all this time, 20 or so years, you still haven't put your socks away.
Change my pants regularly, there's all those kind of basic things. learn how to make a proper souffle. You know, lots of stuff.
Okay.
Lots of stuff.
Well, that's good. Well, you've set yourself some goals at least.
I've got. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think the secret. I think the secret to happiness is to never feel that you've kind of achieved anything.
That's good. So you're always striving, or at least
always.
A little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I think disappointment is very underrated.
If you find time to be disappointed, then I have to agree. Damon Albarn, thank you so much for having a chat to Triple J. Now, I guess we're going to finish with a tune. I was going to play a Blur song since it's been a little while, and I can't. This is so stupid. There's a song. And there's a guitar riff with a sort of 4-part guitar. I don't even know why I'm trying to explain this to you. That Graham plays, and it ends with this crazy sort of delay, this sound. And I can't remember the name of the song. The video clip, you're in this all in this weird sort of playground thing, kind of. And there's a little drum machine intro, and there's a drum machine in the video. Clip.
It's cool. Do you know what? That's a funny. I mean, it's a bit embarrassing that video. I kind of lost it for a minute, But hey.
It's a damn good song.
It was the 90s.
Yeah. And what's the name of the song?
It's called On Your Own. But you know what? That's kind of like one of the first ever Gorillaz tunes, if you want to look at kind of how things sort of develop. I mean, that was definitely a moment where I thought, I quite like doing it this way as well.
Wow, that means it's a piece of completely subconscious and unconscious synchronicity.
So I definitely ripped off Blur with Gorillaz. I mean, if Blur want to sue me, no problem.
You're going to have to sue yourself and make out pretty good, I imagine. Damon Albarn, well, here is Blur On Your Own. Thanks so much for chatting to us, and hopefully we'll see you in Australia very soon.
I've got a feeling we'll be coming over at some point.
It's good to know that when you feel you're going backwards.
Going backwards? What does that even mean?
It's the Doctor.
On Triple J.